Welcome to Motivated to Lead podcast, helping you become a better leader. I'm your host, Mark Klingsheim. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for joining us for our podcast this week. My name is Mark Klingsheim with SEMA Partners. Each week, we interview leaders and they share lessons learned from their careers. Our goal is to help you become a better leader. This week, we're happy to have join us Marie-Pierre Dhers, who is has been a senior executive with Air France-KLM for over 20 years in her career. She served in a number of executive roles within that organization. She has an advisory firm that she formed in 2013, and she lives in New York City, and she serves on boards and has just some great thoughts to share around her career and working globally. And looking forward to today's conversation with Marie-Pierre. You give us, first off, give us a little bit of your background, a little bit of your story.
Yes. Well, long story. Let's make it short. So, born or raised in France, educated in France, in the UK, and in the US. I have this Master of Engineering from France, a Master of Science from Cranfield University, north of London. I was educated also. I received an Executive MBA in the US, and I have this 20 plus year experience in the airline industry, working at Air France-KLM, starting in aircraft investments, which are the largest assets for an airline, and then doing asset finance, corporate finance, and business development. I also was head of the corporate plan and strategy for the group, actually, and supervising those large transformation projects, cross-functional. And I was then head of the operations for one of the largest air travel markets in Europe. So when I moved to the US, that was already 8 years ago now. I joined an investment bank focusing on aircraft investment, aircraft financing. So back to my first occupation, I would say.
Sure.
And I joined created or founded an advisory firm helping investors in the energy, transportation, aerospace, new technology fields in general, between the US and Europe, also helping entrepreneurs in the same fields, which is why I'm also then a senior advisor for a US-based ultra clean. Now they make ultra clean, ultra sustainable, I would say, hydrogen-based sustainable aviation fuel. And also I'm senior advisor for a company based in Europe, and they do like this kind of cutting edge component for the EV industry. I'm also a board member for a Swiss company. They're like leading their way and leading probably the way in the new field called Airborne Wind Energy. And also, I'm also trying to develop myself in boards. So looking for opportunities, and I've been listed by institutional investors in the same, for that actually private equity stakes in the same kind of fields, energy, transportation, etc. So yeah, it's a long story.
Great. Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about your transition to the U.S. market and what you have found. But I guess one of the questions I love to ask guests, and almost every guest I ask this question, is if you were able to go back and talk to a 22-year-old Marie-Pierre, what advice would you give her? Yeah. So
I say, I don't like to give so many advices because I don't know, it's just like maybe not my style. But I'm kind of forced to give some advice because I have two sons, and they are like 22 and 24, and they are trying to just think about their next steps. They just graduated, and they just they're asking a lot of questions, and they always ask a lot of questions, and then they don't listen all the time. But then so I say to them, you have to find your motivation over the long term. And what I found myself is that I found my motivation again over the long term in connecting with people at work. I think when you have the feeling that you contribute to something and you help people in their work every day, and you're part of a big thing, and that makes you get up in the morning, more easily, I would say. So yeah, connecting, being part of a community, and maybe also aim at something you don't know. That's also something I say to them, so that you feel compelled to learn every day. And that's maybe those two things I would say I'm saying. Again, is their lesson.
Sure. So, kind of on the flip side of that, is there any advice that you received earlier in your career that you should have ignored?
Well, actually, I received an advice. I'm probably not the only one, and it was not only at the beginning of my career, but even recently, and I don't like it. It's the lean-in concept, or well, I don't think that's very good advice. I think you have to be yourself, and you have to be authentic. Otherwise, it's good for the company. It's good for you, your own sanity, I would say. And so, yeah, you have to fit with the culture of the company. If you don't fit, if you don't agree with the values, then you just have to leave. But then leaning in at all costs, I would say, it's just not something I would.
So thinking back around kind of that first, everyone has that first position that they are leading a team, and they're tapped on the shoulder, and somebody sees in you that leadership ability. What do you wish you would have known earlier as far as in leading people and managing people?
Well, I would say you have to look for expertise, of course, but maybe that's not the most important topic. I mean, you need to have like people who are knowledgeable, but then the general attitude of the persons you're going to hire, their ability to adapt, their curiosity, their fit, of course, the fact that they can challenge you, and you're going to be shaken up by everything they say to you, and then you're going to think about it and just make them, the team, grow, and yourself too. So I think the attitude is important, and so if you can hire like a variety of attitudes and of backgrounds, I think that's really good for everybody, for the guys you hire, and for you, and for the group at the end of the day. So yeah, I look for attitude rather than expertise, even if expertise, of course, is important for sure.
Absolutely. Thinking back, you've worked in Europe and spent the majority of your career so far there. Talk a little bit of the transition and kind of what you see differences between what you did in France and, of course, being working globally at the same time. But what were some of the differences you saw in the way that you operated in Europe versus here?
Well, so that's different. It's interesting because corporations have the same objective, and even if today everybody's talking about, maybe we should have like a more balanced objective when you're at a corporation. Like, you should think a lot about also your other stakeholders. I think at the end of the day, we just don't function the same way. I always say, when I had these meetings, bringing my US colleagues to Europe, especially we had this meeting with this senior executive guy, and that was globally good meeting. I mean, it's just, you could say it's a globally good meeting, but then we had at the end of the meeting like a various way of analyzing it. My US colleagues said, that was an excellent meeting. And I said, I'm not that sure it was like 100% positive meeting, actually. And I think I was right. And then this perception of thing is different. I think like in some cultures in Europe, we are maybe more implicit than explicit. I think in US, people are more explicit for various reasons, history, the way the country was built, and the diversity of backgrounds and origin, etc. People needed to be clearer in their objectives and in what they were sharing together. So yeah, I think like the way we set common targets, the way we assess performances, the way we even set the objective of a meeting, those things are very different and really opposite, I would say. But again, even in Europe, I mean, you have like the UK, the Netherlands, the South of Europe, they all very different between each other.
Sure.
So yeah, that was an interesting move. That's an interesting move.
So you're now kind of in a seat where you're seeing a variety of different companies and different industries and technologies. What are some exciting things that you see on the horizon as far as in some of the changes that you think are going to be taking place in different sectors?
Well, I think like a lot of technologies and new technologies are driving the change. You see that in the energy sector, the move towards batteries, electricity, rather than oil and gas powered industries or transportation. It's this move is not only generated by probably a new conscience around a more sustainable future and present, but also because the new technologies are here, and this is why you see also this new urban mobility fields rising, and it's like eVTOL, like the vertical takeoff and landing, new machines, I would say, everywhere. I mean, in Asia, in Europe, and the US, these new ventures. So I think there's like new technologies, like new regulations around like a more sustainable present and future because of this climate concern and obligation, I would say, yeah. And then also, yeah, so many, after this COVID crisis, I would say there's like these concerns about the relationship between the work and employees. I mean, employers and employees. Mm-hmm. And there's a technology thing, like a social reset, and new regulation also, especially in Europe. So yeah, the whole fields, industrial, generally speaking, transportation, energy in particular, are like a bit shaken up right now, and for the next years, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in the your move to the U.S. 8 years ago, what do you miss about? And I have to ask you your favorite French food, but talk a little bit about anything that you miss.
I have a lot. Actually, I don't miss that many things because you can find whatever you want here.
Sure.
Which is it's even more diverse, I would say. You can eat like foods from South America, from Asia, from any like really tiny part of Asia. The world is here, I would say. Well, I have a lot of favorite foods in France. So yeah, from the foie gras, which is not that politically or even like generally accepted, and so I want to insist a lot about that. I think like New York State recently prohibited the production of foie gras, so you're just like I have to be very careful about that. But then, so this is why what I will miss in the future if that is actually applied here. But then I have just good, and I come from the southwest of France, so which is really rooted into traditional cuisine, and so things you just flavors. And with that,
So every leader that I talk to is a learner. Sometimes it's audiobooks, and other times it's reading books. But what would be on the top of your list of books that you would recommend to other leaders?
Well, there are a lot of books on leadership, management, and I like the Ray Dalio books in general, all of them. I like books on emotional intelligence because that's I think that is the next thing in business. I mean, people are very well educated all over the place. I mean, it's a very competitive market, I would say. You know, people are moving from one place to another easily. So it's not, again, the expertise that will make the difference, but probably the way you just like fit in and develop and grow a team that is successful. So emotional intelligence is very important. So there's like these Daniel Coleman books around that. And then also I like history books. It's good to know history just to project yourself. And I like books on anthropology. So I also very often make reference to the series of books, actually. I think he wrote 3 of them. The first one is called Sapiens by Harari, who is a writer, philosopher actually from Israel. And then, it's an interesting one actually. It explains why the humans succeeded, because we actually invented theoretical and not physical concepts, like politics, like religion, like philosophy, etc. And then also, just to come back to what we talked about these cultural differences, I like a book by Erin Meyer, and she's a professor at INSEAD in France. She's American, and she felt the same difficulties, and especially it's funny because she has like interesting stories with the kids at school, you know, just like the book is called the Culture Map, and she mentioned this story about her kids coming back from school and saying, "Hey, Mom, I got like a C plus," and she said, "Oh, so C plus, but then you what happened?" And he said, "Oh, but Mom, C plus is just excellent in France. You never get A. You never get A's." This is so funny. Much for us, yeah. So the culture map, it's how to navigate in like global industries and global corporations. And you're very diverse. You have a diverse team, and you have to manage those diverse teams, which is the common target you set up with your team.
Yeah. Some great suggestions, some books that you mentioned that I don't think anybody's mentioned before. So that's great. Outside of work, what do you like to do as far as to recharge?
So I don't think I do a lot. I mean, I don't do anything very much exceptional. I just very much with my family. I just draw my resources from them and with them, and just this is the way I like it. And I like laughing too, just going to comedies if I have time. So that's just laughing. I like laughing too at work too. Just,
right.
Just relaxing. I do run too, so that's the other thing. I run regularly. Actually, I run nearly every day. So I haven't done my running this morning. I missed that. So I'm training for the next marathon in Chicago, which is very ambitious. Anyway.
So how many marathons have you run?
Actually, not that many.
Okay.
Just one, just the 2019 New York Marathon.
Sure.
But it's funny because I've been running all my life since I was in track and field when I was really young. I've been running all my life. It's just like I just realized. Oh, actually, my coach said, you should try, races. And I said, no, come on, not races. And then actually, it's interesting because you have to get that. You have an objective and you try to make to improve on that objective, and it's kind of an interesting path. Humility and physical performance. Yeah.
Well, that's coming up. When's the dates for that? Is that coming up soon?
October 10.
Okay, so around the corner.
Yeah, around the corner.
Yeah.
So you have to be ready.
Good. Well, what parting advice would you give a leader?
Well, I touched a bit on that already, and I think there is a need for, and it's probably started already in the circles between executives and probably board level. I think there is a need for a larger conversation around what is the objective of a company, and I think the COVID crisis, as much as people, I always say that as much as people just wanted to go back to normal, they actually want things to be different from before. They just don't want to commute anymore as much as they used to. Mm-hmm. They want to take the time to see their kids in the morning and see them after school. So that's one thing. There's also all this thing around this climate urgency. So what is the impact of what we do every day on our communities next door, or just across continents? And so that discussion needs to take place somewhere, probably at a good level. And it started already. It's just that I think that's important to keep that in mind, and that's an important discussion. That's what I'm saying. And just important discussion to have. Yeah.
So I wish you continued success with all the projects that you're working on and the companies and boards that you're sitting on, and definitely look forward and send me a note when you're done with the Marathon Chicago. Let me know you're done. It's more about finishing than your time, right? And
exactly. Yeah. And that was the objective I had with the New York Marathon. Actually, I did a very good time at the same time. So it's just just don't be too ambitious, but just take the way and just do it on time and just have fun, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, thanks so much for your time, Marie-Pierre, and wish you continued success and appreciate all the insights you shared.
Okay. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you for listening to the Motivated to Lead podcast. Please subscribe on iTunes. You can also see a video version of this interview at motivatedtolead.com. This podcast is brought to you by SEMA Partners, helping you find your next great leader.